Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here and welcome back to another YouTube video on the channel. And today guys, we are here for our AFL 2022 3-game match reviews. Yes, another big 3 games that I will be unpacking in this video. The first 3 games of round 21 of the 2022 AFL season. And I'll tell you, these were 3 massive games, and I'll tell you the games right now. So we had Melbourne vs Collingwood, Hawthorn vs Gold Coast, and GWS vs Essendon. 3 ripping games, 1 Friday nighter, 2 Saturday afternoon games. Starting off with Melbourne vs Collingwood, I'll tell you, ripping games. Let's go ahead and hop right into things. Alright, so it was a ripping Friday night game at the MCG between Melbourne versus Collingwood. Melbourne 13-11-89 get defeated by Collingwood 15-6-96. Collingwood, they've done it again. They've won 11 in a row. Somehow they've done it. They win by 7 in an absolute epic. Somehow they've done it. They have been fantastic this year of Collingwood. They've won all the close games. A very unhealthy percentage, but wow, the fans are loving it. And what another exciting game this one was. 11 in a row for Collingwood. They now go equal top so far with Geelong, who are still left to play St Kilda. But it was a Melbourne were in front for most of the game, and sometimes by a healthy margin as well. Collingwood kicked the first. Melbourne had a really good first quarter though. Collingwood, it was a very high scoring game as well for both sides. In the end, 89-96. It looked like at half time both these teams were going to get over 100, but didn't end up happening. The scoring did dry out in the third and final quarter, but it was still a very contested and exciting game of footy for sure. And in the third quarter is where the foundation started for Collingwood. They were down by a couple of goals at half time. In the third quarter, they kicked 3 goals to Melbourne's 1, which is where the foundation, again, as I said, started. And then in the last quarter, Melbourne kicked 2 goals, Collingwood kicked 4, and they do enough to take the lead in an absolute ripping game and win. Can you believe that? 42 disposed for Oliver, 4 goals for Johnson, 152 fantasy for Gawn, 8 tackles for Oliver. Now to the player stats we go, where Gawn had 152 fantasy, 139 for Oliver, 120 for Petrarca, 108 for Dacos, 105 for Viney, 100 for Brayshaw. Goals behinds now, 4 goals for Johnson and Elliott. I'll tell you, Elliott, oh wow, he's an absolute superstar for Collingwood. 2 goals for Brown, Fritsch and Myercheck, and then 1 for everybody else. Disposals, 42 for Oliver, 36 for Petrarca, 32 for Brayshaw, 31 for Gawn, Dacos, 30 for Viney. And these are all high numbers, but again, I've said a couple of times this year, it doesn't matter how many possessions you get, it's what you do with the footy, because you can end up giving away free kicks for holding the ball or end up making a little bit of a mistake. So again, that is important. You can see the disposal efficiency of some of these players. Now, I haven't highlighted a lot, but 69, 69, 59, 48 for these players. Oliver, Petrarca, Brayshaw, Gawn, that all had high numbers, 69, 69, 59, 48. Dacos, who had 31, had 81% kicking efficiency, disposal efficiency, and then Viney, who had 30, had 67. So, again, it is about how you can move the ball and use it, which can really sum up your game, and that is a poor disposal efficiency for those top 4 ball getters. It is over 50, but it's still not great. It does say that you're making mistakes. 10 marks for Gawn, 9 for side bottom, 8 for Maynard, 7 for Brown and House, 6 for Noble. Tackles now, 8 for Oliver and Crisp, 7 for McCreary, 6 for Brayshaw, Viney, Lipinski, Pendlebury. 27 hit-outs for Gawn, 22 for Cox, 21 for Cameron, 9 for Jackson, 2 for Brown. So now to the stats. So it was, again, Melbourne went inside 50 way more times than Collingwood, 65-41. But the efficiency that Collingwood were going inside 50, it was insane. Like, whenever they were going in, they were pretty much scoring 21 scoring shots. So, yeah, that's really good efficiency by Collingwood. Melbourne had more of the footy. But again, what I just said before, their disposal efficiency was shocking. I think Gawn had 48. And I know there that someone had 59, then the other 2 had 69. Oliver and Petrarca had 69. 69. Brayshaw had 59, and Gawn had 48. That's shocking disposal efficiency. You've got to be using the ball better than that, and that hurts. You can get the footy, but again, what you do with it is important. Melbourne again won clearances as well. It was a bit of a demolition, but Collingwood did really well to hang in the game and somehow win it in the end. Melbourne led for 92 minutes. Collingwood led for only 16. But again, it does matter to win the game. And they did exactly that, did Collingwood. They win by 7 in a ripping game. So now on to the first game of the Saturday, where Hawthorn 10-10-70 beat the Suns 8-15-63. Did inaccuracy cost the Gold Coast Suns? Possibly in a low-scoring game, but it was a thriller. 2 thrillers so far. And it was Hawthorn that did lead the game for majority, and it was at Utah Stadium, which can make things even harder for the Suns. But the thing with the Suns is that they're always valid. They always play pretty well, regardless of where they're playing. And this was another good example, but unfortunately enough for them, finals are gone for this season. They cannot make finals anymore. But what a good season it was for Gold Coast. I think they should be having a lot of respect and a lot of confidence over the season that they have had. I don't think anybody should be putting them down, because they had a very good season and probably one of their best. They got going against some really good sides, and I think that's really good. They were in the mix for finals for a lot of rounds, and unfortunately enough, in round 21, it has ended. But congratulations to the Gold Coast Suns for a very nice season. They did a very good job, but unfortunately enough, their finals hopes are over for them. And Hawthorn, they've been playing pretty well, and I think this was the game that they got noticed as well. I think they've been a little bit under the radar of a few of their performances this year. But again, another win to their impressive bag of wins, I guess. They've won against some really quality opponents, and just a nice win here. And they had 8 goals to half-time to Gold Coast 5. It was always going to be tough for Gold Coast from that stage on. They managed it. The third, well, look, they had 5 goals, 5 to half-time, right? They finished with 8-15. They kicked 3 goals, 10 in the second half, which any sort of better accuracy than that, if they had have gone 6 goals, 6, they would have won the game. So it was inaccuracy. That's what you'd put it down to for Gold Coast. Not they played bad. Inaccuracy could have really done them in, and it did. But yeah, in the third quarter, not really much of a difference from the second quarter and the final quarter. All Gold Coast, but only managed to put the 1 goal on the board. Look at that, 5 behinds. They had chances, but just didn't manage. Swallow 33 disposals, 5 goals for Gunston. 10 tackles for Tuke Miller, 131 fantasy for David Swallow. Now, when my thing wants to load, AFL fantasy, 131 for Swallow, 118 for Hollands, 108 for Witts, 102 for O'Meara, 101 for Moore and Sicily. Let's see, McAvoy, 250th game, 88 fantasy goal, 8 disposals, 1 mark, 6 tackles, 31 hitouts. Not a bad game by big boy McAvoy in his 250th. Gunston, 5 goals, by far the best on ground by anyone for goal kicking tally, and again, he kicked half of Hawthorn's goals. Could have been the point of difference that the game needed. 2 goals for Holman and Hollands, and then everybody else from Hawthorn and the Stuns that kicked a goal got the 1. 33 disposals for Swallow, 30 for Ellis, 27 for Newcomb. Oh, Newcomb, fantastic player. 26 for Moore and Sicily, as well as Anderson. Now to the marks, 9 for Hollands, 8 for Gunston, Sicily and Mac Andrew. Tackles, 10 for McGuinness and Miller. 8 for O'Meara, McPherson, Rouse. 7 for Swallow, Holman. Hitouts, 44 for Witts. 31 for McAvoy. 3 for Kaczynski and Troll. Now team stats we go, where it was pretty tight disposal-wise and inside 50-wise. The Suns won the inside 50 count by 3. Nothing else looking appealing. Again, clearances were very tight as well. 37-36. Suns out of the centre. Hawks from stoppage. Nothing else. This was a pretty tight game. Going through these stats, pretty tight. The Hawks led for pretty much the whole contest, but a pretty tight contest between these two sides. Inaccuracy, the accuracy count, I think, managed to be the point of difference, where the Hawks were better 10-10 to 8-15. But all round, a brilliant game, and the Hawks by 7. 2 games by 7 so far this round. Only just pointed that out. So sadly, we couldn't go 3 7s in a row, could we? No, unfortunately enough, we could not. But it was the Giants by 27. The Giants back to their best maybe after this game, because they needed something, and this was the perfect chance to do it, and they did exactly that against Essendon. 14-12-96 GWS, Essendon 10-9-69, 96-69 being the final scores. This is what the Giants needed, and they did a very good job in the second half of the game. Now, in the first half, they did own. They got 2 very quick goals to get off to a flying start, And then the Bombers came back then they kicked the first 2 goals, and then they actually kicked the first 3 goals. But then the Bombers responded with the next 3. And then again in the second quarter, they got out to a good margin, but again, the Bombers responded back. So every time the Giants were doing something, the Bombers responded back. But listen to this. So Giants had 7 goals to half-time. The Bombers had 7 as well. The Bombers finished with 10. The Giants finished with 14. That's the difference. The Bombers did nothing in the second half, and they let their team and supporter base down with this one. It looked like they were getting better at Essendon, and this is just their harsh reality check. They were going to end up copping it eventually, and here it is. Giants Stadium, not an easy place to play, but 50-50 really this one was. But the Giants were just the better of the sides. In the third quarter is where they started to get somewhere. They built the framework for a very good last quarter. They led by a couple of kicks at the 3-quarter time break, and then again just exploded off in the last to seal victory. 29 disposals for Whitfield, 4 goals for Hogan and Guelphy. 117 fantasy for Hogan, 7 tackles for Cornelio and Langford. So now to the player stats we go. AFL fantasy, 117 for Hogan, 112 for Whitfield, 104 for Himmelberg, 103 for Cornelio, 102 for Ward, 98 for Parrish. Goals and behinds, 4 goals for Hogan, an unlikely 4 goals for Guelphy, but he got 4 goals in the end from 9 disposals for Guelphy, so that is a very interesting figure there. 2 goals for Green and Wright, 1 goal for everybody else, 29 disposals for Whitfield, 28 for Parrish, 25 for Ward, 23 for Himmelberg, Perryman and Durham. Now to the marks, 12 for Hogan, 11 for Himmelberg, 10 for Cumming and Ward, 9 for Haynes, Riccardi, Zerk, Thatcher. So a lot more Giants players taking marks, which I can see how the mark count would be looking. 7 tackles for Cornelio, Langford, 6 for Green, Parrish, 4 for Kelly, Perryman, Taylor. Wow, there's lots of Giants that laid plenty of tackles. Hit-outs, 23 for Bruce, 22 for Draper, 14 for Briggs, 3 for Wright, 2 for Stewart, 1 for Hogan. Now to team stats we go, where the Giants did dominate the inside 50 count. They won by 15. They went inside 50, 15 more times. And the Bombers, they won the hit-out and the clearance count. They were good around stoppage, +7 in stoppage clearances, but they were down by 1 in centre. Had more uncontested footy. Yep, marks. Exactly what I thought the count would be looking like. 144 to 81 in favour of GWS. So that would be what? That'd be 63 more marks for the game. Now, only 16 of them were contested, but again, way more contested marks than the Bombers anyway. So, wow. Led for most of the game. In the end, were deserving winners. They got a very big win. And oh boy, 16-1 tackles inside 50, but big win for the Giants. This was the win that they desperately needed, just for that comforting, reassuring that they still can win games of footy. So probably by the time that you're watching this, the third quarter would probably be well and truly underway. Western Bulldogs 5-5-35, Fremantle 9-4-58. What happens from here, we don't know. But it is currently half-time at Marvel Stadium in the quarter that, well, was definitely a Docker demolition in the second quarter. They played really well. But, yeah, interesting first quarter. The Dockers, again, controlled most of it. They led by a couple of kicks at the first break. And then they've just destroyed the Dogs in the second quarter. And now it is going to be interesting to see whether the Dogs respond or whether they don't. Dogs wearing their heritage jumper. Fremantle wore it last week versus Melbourne. It can be a bit of a disaster sometimes, so maybe wearing heritage jumpers don't work. I don't know. Now, let's go ahead, have a little look at some team stats to half-time. Wow, the Dockers have had way more footy than the Dogs, going inside 50 plus 5 more times. That's how it's currently looking, though. I'm not really going to go through too many. Wow, 35 to 78 marks. Unbelievable stuff. But there's still a whole half to be played. Footy can go, well, many different ways. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one gets played out. So now the rest of the round, the Cats played the Saints at Cardinia Park, followed by the Power playing the Tigers at the Adelaide Oval. North play Sydney tomorrow, as well as Brisbane versus Carlton and West Coast versus Adelaide. And Josh Kennedy's farewell game Now to the ladder. Let's have a little look at how things are shaping up right now. Now, we'll just chuck the live ladder on real quick. So, Fremantle currently back up into the top 4. But, however, there is still Sydney, Brisbane to be played out, and Geelong. So, there's still plenty of teams around them. So, if Sydney and Brisbane both win, that is disastrous for Fremantle. And look, Brisbane play Carlton at the Gabba, Sydney play North Melbourne. So even if Fremantle do win, they probably won't retain a top 4 spot. And then the Western Bulldogs, where does that have them? Still in 10th. But they'd be looking to win. Otherwise, then, if Richmond get the job done versus Port Adelaide, a top 8 spot for them looks unlikely. And then the Giants are on 24 points equal with the Crows, which means if the Crows lose to the Eagles, the Giants could go back up into 15th spot. And then the Hawks sit in 13th on 32, equal with Port Adelaide. So there can still be some overtaking there for Hawthorn to do. But that is going to wrap us up for a 3-game match reviews. Those are 3 games that we just reviewed. Collingwood by 7, Hawthorn by 7, and GWS by 27, all ending in a 7. And is currently Dockers by 23 at the halftime break. So thank you guys all so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. See you guys next another video on the channel. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Bye everyone. Flaming Footy out.